Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of the DVC Show, coming to you from the Bob Varley studio in Orlando, Florida. I'm your host, Pete Werner, joined this week in the studio by my good friend from the DVC Store, Mr. Jerry Saito.
Hello, everyone.
Our producer, Mr. Corey Fiasconaro.
Welcome home.
And via Skype, Rob Lindsay, also known as Webmaster Doc on the boards.
Good morning.
And before we get started, just a couple things. If you are interested in purchasing a DVC contract, please give our friends over at dvcstore.com a visit or a phone call. 1-800
550
6493.
There you go.
There we go. It was the first three digits. I just needed you to help me with that. 1-800-550-6493. To give you an idea of how long these people have been in business, they have an actual 800 number. It's not 833, it's not 844, it's not 855, it's 800. That's how long they've been around, okay? Because you've been with us, been advertising on the Diz since the beginning, since 1998.
Yeah.
I launched the site in June of 97, and Timeshare Store, now also known as DVC Store, was one of our first advertisers.
Yeah, it was founded in 94. The Timeshare Store as the structural building, 1997 is when we actually opened the Timeshare Store. But there was a timeshare division that started in 1994.
Yeah.
Yeah. So a long time.
A long time. A long, long time. So if you're looking to buy a contract, or if you want to sell your contract, maybe you want to upgrade, they can help you with that as well. Also, visit their, we're going to have a link to this in the show notes. We haven't mentioned it in a long time. If there's a particular type of contract that you're looking for, you can sign up for a text alert through the DVC Store right on their website. You won't get spammed. You're not going to get all sorts of text. You will simply say, I'm looking for like a Grand Floridian with a February use year in this point range, and you'll only receive text messages when a new contract comes on. And I got to tell you that actually a lot of people utilize that. We've got thousands of people getting those text messages. And as a result, some of these contracts, like I saw some really good ones the last few weeks. Yeah. 75 points at Grand Floridian, 100 points at the Poly. Those contracts go like that. So if that's the sort of thing you're in the market for, please head over to the website, dvcstore.com, and sign up for that. Links to all of that in the show notes right below. So this week, we are going to talk about Boulder Ridge versus Copper Creek. Now, Wilderness Lodge is unique in that it houses two different DVC properties. They are technically different properties. So you have Boulder Ridge, which was originally the villas at Wilderness Lodge. And then when they did Copper Creek, they renamed that to Boulder Ridge. So you got Boulder Ridge on one side, and then Copper Creek, which is the newer one, on the other. I will say I have contracts at both. I have contracts at both Copper Creek and Boulder Ridge. I've stayed at both. And I think I'm the only one here that can say that, right?
Yeah.
Have you stayed at both?
Nope, just the original Boulder Ridge. I haven't stayed at Copper Creek yet.
Boulder Ridge. Rob, you were Boulder Ridge, right?
Yes, I've stayed there, but I don't have a contract there.
Okay. Well, try not to hold that against you. And Fiasco, you've stayed at Copper Creek. You own a Copper Creek.
Yep. So I own a Copper Creek, and I've stayed there. And I have never stayed at Boulder Ridge, but I've just seen your stay.
Okay, right. You filmed. You
Yeah.
filmed our stuff
Right.
On that. So I will tell you, I think both have their pros and cons from my perspective. My biggest con with Boulder Ridge right now is that those rooms are in desperate need of a rehab. They're in desperate need of a rehab. I believe they are next on the list.
I think you're right.
But then again, we're in the age of COVID, so who knows when that's actually going to happen. But the building at Boulder Ridge, let's just talk about that. That lobby, especially at Christmas, oh my God. It is absolutely stunning. Absolutely stunning. And really if you really feel you do not feel in any way, shape, or form that you are a stone's throw from the Magic Kingdom. You really feel like you're in like a really nice cabin.
And the Pacific Northwest, I mean, it is, like you said, stunning. They do such a good job. You do not feel like you're in Florida at all. You feel like you are in a wilderness lodge. It is beautiful.
And I mean, the room sizes are nice too. Again, it's an older property. The room sizes are very nice. But it is a separate building. Whereas Copper Creek, with the exception of the cabins, which we'll talk about the cabins in a second, probably my favorite place to stay. Copper Creek is built actually in the hotel. They actually took rooms offline at the Wilderness Lodge Hotel and turned those into 1 and 2 bedroom and studio accommodations. So, Rob, you stayed at Boulder Ridge. What were your thoughts on it?
We stayed there early on when it had just opened, and the Iron Spike room is really special downstairs. It's just a cozy little lounge, sitting lounge, and you can play checkers there and so forth. The rooms were great. You're right that they do need some upgrading now, but it's a really comfortable resort, and as you say, it's really close to everything.
And it was my welcome home stay. When I got because my first contract was technically a Boulder Ridge contract. That was such a deal. I got, what was it, 250 points at $89 a point.
Yeah.
That's unusually low, and it passed right of first refusal because it was an international seller, and Disney doesn't want to mess with those. Right now, they don't want to mess with anything. Right now, they're not buying anything back yet, are they?
No. March 30th was the last buyback, and currently it's July 6th. So nothing bought back since March 30th.
So there's that. But my mother and I stayed. We'll have a link in the show notes to that vlog and video. That was a lot of fun.
She did a little review of it.
It was the first time my mother did a vlog. And she was so nervous about it. It was so cute. But she loved to stay there. She really did. We really enjoyed it. But a lot of people don't realize that Boulder Ridge and Copper Creek are 2 different DVC properties. They're not, just because they're at Wilderness Lodge doesn't mean they're the same thing. They are actually, you have different contracts.
Different expirations.
Different expiration date, 2042.
And 2068.
Is the expiration for Boulder Ridge, 2068, the expiration at Copper Creek. Copper Creek, much newer. Of course, Copper Creek also has the cabins, which, yeah, cabins
20,
all the way.
26 cabins along the waterfront. What is it, on Bay Lake? Is that the lake there? Yeah. So it's beautiful.
It's absolutely stunning. Stayed in them. So last year, I think it was. Yeah.
Yeah, it was
For the
during
Dreams
event.
20th,
Yep.
for Dreams Unlimited Travels 20th. And we had a cabin for the week. And then I had my mom and her sisters in October. I wasn't here. I was in Europe. But I got them the cabin for 3 nights. And they just keep talking about it. Absolutely gorgeous. And, like I stayed in a studio at Copper Creek. And it was beautiful. It was really well appointed, but it's the size of a hotel room.
Yeah.
Whereas, with a lot of other DVC properties, the studios are a little bit larger.
And I stayed at a 1-bedroom at Copper Creek twice, and the style of that room happens to be my favorite style.
Really?
It is.
Just the opposite for me.
Yeah, no, I love it. I love this, like, the woodsy look. I really also like Animal Kingdom Lodge a lot. That would be a contender for first place as far as the style is concerned. But Wilderness Lodge and Copper Creek has to take it. Where Boulder Ridge does, like you said, feel a little dated. But yeah, that lobby is one of my favorite lobbies too. So
it only feels dated because of the decor in the rooms, which it's time for. I believe it's coming time for its hard refresh, which is where they pull everything out. They redo everything. And Boulder Ridge is definitely in need of that. But at the same time, you know, I can't say I prefer one over the other. You know, like if we're not talking the cabins, then I prefer Boulder Ridge. A 1-bedroom at Boulder Ridge, I think, is much larger and better appointed overall. I don't like the design of the 1-bedrooms. I don't like that alley, the alley kitchen.
Okay, yeah.
I don't like that at all. You know, so now, Rob, you've seen the rooms at Copper Creek, right?
Yes.
What were your thoughts about that design?
I like the style. We stayed in a 1-bedroom at Boulder Ridge, and I like the layout of that better than the ones at Copper Creek. Like you say, the kitchen's just different. But
well, it's like we call it the alley kitchen as opposed to a galley kitchen because everything's up against one wall.
Yeah.
So you go from your you go from your living room area, dining area, to the bedroom. You're walking down a hallway that the kitchen is basically against one wall,
Right.
And it just nothing about that appeals to me. You know, really, the kitchens that appeal to me are the ones at Old Key West. That's a kitchen.
That's a kitchen.
That's a kitchen. When they went to the boardwalk is when they started doing the galley kitchens, which was pretty much everything after Old Key West was galley until Copper Creek, and then they went alley, and that's also the style of them at Riviera. So, you know, I prefer the galley over the alley. So that's one of the reasons why I like the atmosphere and feel of both of them. I do like the fact that the Copper Creek rooms are in the main building. It's part of the hotel.
Yeah.
Right.
And I do like that. There's a convenience to that.
It was really nice when I stayed there one time. I got the room literally right off of the main lobby. It was the closest room to the lobby. And that was great. That was so cool. But another thing I really think people should think about and consider is, so both these resorts are at Wilderness Lodge, and as far as the price for a contract, and Jerry can confirm how much different it is, but Copper Creek is going to tend to be a little bit more expensive than Boulder Ridge.
Yeah. Currently, Copper Creek's like 140-ish per point.
Yeah.
Is it really?
Maybe 150. Depends on the package. Depends on how many points available. But yeah, call it 145.
And how much? That was for Copper Creek.
That's Copper Creek.
And what's Boulder Ridge right now?
Right at 100, maybe 95 to 105 per point.
Yeah, so, and both are going to get you staying at Wilderness Lodge. And then the other thing to consider is, of course, Boulder Ridge has a contract expiration date 20 years before.
Let me see. It's 2068, right? So it's 68 is the expiration. So, and the other's 42. So,
Right.
Quick math, carry the one. It's a lot more time.
Yeah, so
Yeah, well, you're getting 26 more years
There you go.
on
Yeah.
If that's what you were trying to.
On Copper Creek. Yeah.
Right.
Hashtag, thank God he's pretty. So you're getting 26 more years in the contract. That hasn't factored in a lot for me in terms of my choice of contracts, because I'm not going to be here in 2068 unless there is some massive advance in medicine. Probably, maybe, I don't know, but I'll be pissed off if I am. I'm like, damn, I bought those 2042 contracts and I lived a lot longer than I thought I was going to live. But so if the, for me, like I said, I really can't say one over the other. Like from a room standpoint, I definitely just, room to room, Boulder Ridge. The fact that Copper Creek's in the resort and you've got those incredible cabins. But also the problem with the cabins too, you got to remember that when any of these resorts have those cabins, it throws the point balance off
Yeah.
for the rest of the rooms. And that's been a big problem. Especially studios, getting a studio at Copper Creek, if you're not an owner and you're not doing it 11 months out, you ain't getting one.
Right.
You ain't getting one. And part of that is because of the cabins. There's a limited amount of points that they're allowed to sell and use. And those cabins take up a lot of points.
Pretty
You know?
much like the Polynesian.
The bungalows, the poly, which I've stayed in that. And when the first time I stayed in the poly bungalow, I'm like, okay, there's nothing better than this. Then they opened the cabins at Copper Creek. I'm like, oh, scratch that. The cabins at Copper Creek, far superior to the bungalows at the Polynesian, and cheaper price in points per night. And, yes, you do get that direct view of the Magic Kingdom from the poly bungalows, but I'm okay. Because you just have this atmosphere. It's just incredible. We have a video up. We'll make sure we link to that too, of the cabin.
Yeah.
Oh, breathtaking.
And for me, I mean, I love Copper Creek. That would have to be what I picked. However, because of the savings, the pure savings you would get on adding on something like Boulder Ridge, if I was to add on points right now, I would pick Boulder Ridge over Copper Creek.
I feel like wherever you're going to pick, if it is Copper Creek, Boulder Ridge, like you really are not making a bad choice. I do agree that the rooms are they definitely need to be redone at Boulder, but that property itself, like, you've got good dining options, you've got great proximity to the Magic Kingdom, you've got a beautiful lake in the backyard, you can just kind of get lost on the property, the pools are great, so you really can't make a bad choice with either one. But I think, if you want to save some money and you're okay with less years, Boulder's a great option.
And Rob, you were saying that the lounge there, that lobby area, is called the Iron Spike Room?
Yes.
Okay, does anybody else think that sounds like a gay bar? Because I'm expecting to see guys in leather and chaps and other things going on. The Iron Spike.
I'm not sure if they still have it there, but at one time they had part of Walt's miniature train.
I believe it's still there.
Yep.
Yeah,
I believe it's still there.
And the fireplace. And
yeah, it's very relaxing. Like, you can go in there, you can grab a book, sit in a rocking chair, just kind of hang out, and it's beautiful. They do like a lot of, obviously, wood, pine. I'm not even sure the kind of wood, but it's just done very well.
There's not a single person watching the show right now who's not going to go into that room now and chuckle. Okay, It's not a single person. So you're welcome.
Yeah.
All right, so that's going to do it, folks, for our discussion on Boulder Ridge and Copper Creek. We hope you enjoyed it. We'll be back with you again next week with another edition of the DVC Show. Have a great week, folks.